Let's unearth 15 obscure rock bands from 1972 that screamed, soared, and disappeared into the static. These weren't just deep cuts, they were cult legends waiting to be rediscovered. And the final band? Their sound predicted stoner rock decades before the genre even had a name. Number 15, Dancing Madly Backwards by Captain Beyond.
On the sea, racing on my memory.
Time signatures, bent, guitars, cosmic. Captain Beyond blended psychedelia, prog, and proto-metal into a sound that was too weird for radio, too loud for the underground. Formed by ex-members of Deep Purple and Iron Butterfly, this band should have been massive. But instead, they became a secret handshake among vinyl heads. Their self-titled debut was a cult triumph in 1972, filled with songs that didn't play by any rules. This wasn't rock music. It was interdimensional turbulence. Next, a band that made one album, then disappeared into the mist. Number 14, No More White Horses, T2. T2's debut, It'll All Work Out in Boomland, was a haunting, explosive mix of the hard rock and melancholy prog. No More White Horses was the centerpiece, a 7-minute epic that felt like Pink Floyd and Cream meeting in a thunderstorm. The band had everything: a screaming guitarist, a soulful vocalist, and dark cinematic writing. But poor promotion and label chaos buried their chances. Today, original pressings fetch hundreds, and among prog lovers, T2 is sacred. Next up, a band named after a bird that sounded like a war machine. If you've made it this far, you're clearly built different, and so were these bands. Hit subscribe now, so you never miss another trip through the shadows of rock history. Number 13, Work My Body by Hound. This was dirty, loud, and unapologetically primal. Hound's debut album, Growers of Mushroom, was loaded with heavy blues riffs, snarling vocals, and a proto-stoner groove years ahead of its time. The band vanished before they could tour, but their sound would later influence bands like Cuse, Sleep, and early Queens of the Stone Age. In 1972, they were unknown. In hindsight, they were founders of a genre that didn't exist yet. Next, a band that went full throttle, then flamed out in silence. Number 12, Staircase to the Day by Gravy Train. Flute solos, mellotron waves, and riffs that stomp like dinosaurs. Gravy Train combined progressive structure with headbanging muscle, and their 1972 album, Staircase to the Day, remains a hidden gem in prog rock's shadowy vault. The track of the same name bursts with theatricality. Like Jethro Tull went drinking with Uriah Heep and came out angry. They never got major distribution, and their name didn't help. But their sound? Undeniably fierce. Next, a band with the silliest name and the nastiest grooves. Number 11, Mrs. Prout by Fuzzy Duck. Fuzzy Duck didn't sound cute. They sounded dangerous. Their lone, self-titled 1971 to 72 album is filled with Hammond-driven, hard rock fury that sits right between Deep Purple and Atomic Rooster. Mrs. Prout delivers greasy riffs and tight instrumental breakdowns. Classic rock radio would have devoured this if they'd known it existed. With only 500 copies pressed, the album vanished. But crate diggers have since revived it as a cult classic. Next up, a band with future royalty and a bass tone thick enough to sink a battleship. Number 10. Way Back to the Bone by Trapeze. This band should have ruled arenas. Trapeze was funky, heavy, and tight, with Glenn Hughes on bass and vocals just before he joined Deep Purple. Way Back to the Bone blended hard rock crunch with R&B smoothness, like Free meets Sly Stone with zero restraint. Critics took notice, but the band never broke through in the US mainstream. Still, their sound echoed into Hughes' later work, and fans consider this era sacred ground. Coming up, one band took the blues and set it on fire with proto-metal madness. Number 9. Kingdom Come by Sir Lord Baltimore.
Is want only for to sleep.
This was the birth cry of stoner metal. Sir Lord Baltimore's Kingdom Come was raw, sludgy, and decades ahead of its time, so much so that the term heavy metal was first used in print to describe them. The drums thundered like war, the vocals were scorched and unhinged, and the guitars? They didn't riff, they roared. The band couldn't catch the mainstream, but in underground circles, this track became myth. Sir Lord Baltimore didn't chase trends. They invented gravity. Next, a trio that stripped it down, fuzzed it up, and left smoke trails behind. Number 8. For Mad Men, only by Blitz. You want heavy? You want weird? Blitz delivered both. For Mad Men Only was the molten opener to their second and final album, a wild mix of Sabbath-style doom and psychedelic jam chaos. The UK-Canadian power trio burned fast and bright, with thick bass grooves and a guitarist who sounded like he was playing out of a volcano. They never found footing with labels or audiences, but in retrospect, they were stoner rock before stoner rock knew it was a thing. Next, a band with the most diabolical name on the list, and a sound to match. Number 7. Ride the Sky by Lucifer's Friend. This track opens like hell taking flight. Ride the Sky fused early metal with prog bombast, complete with French horn intro, thunderous drums, and a riff that punched through brick. Lucifer's Friend were German, but their vocalist was British powerhouse John Lawton, later of Uriah Heep, and his scream could peel paint. The band remained largely unknown outside of Europe, but in metal circles, they were legends hiding in plain sight. Coming up, funk, fuzz, and philosophy from a band whose name is as trippy as their sound. Number 6. Promotion Man by Highway Robbery. This band didn't nudge the volume up. They ripped the knob off. Promotion Man was the explosive opener to For Love or Money, the only album Highway Robbery ever released. The riffs were as sharp as Deep Purple's, but with twice the speed and a sneering attitude that predated punk. They sounded like Grand Funk on a bad trip, gritty, chaotic, gloriously alive. They didn't make it far commercially, but their one record became an underground legend. Highway Robbery didn't ask for permission, they stole the whole damn van. Next, a band that traded power chords for fairy tales and flutes. Number 5. Friendliness by Stackridge.
Fame and fortune only helps my help.
Think Beatles meets Magic Mushrooms. Stackridge blended folk, orchestral pop, and British whimsy into something completely their own. Friendliness was a standout from their 1972 album of the same name. Gentle melodies wrapped in odd stories, strange characters, and flashes of prog brilliance. They were darlings of the UK underground, but their sound was too eccentric for mainstream radio. Still, if you loved early Genesis or later XTC, You'll find their DNA here. Stackridge made rock for dreamers and very smart weirdos. Next, a band who sounded like they jammed in a field of sunflowers while pondering the meaning of time. Number 4, Reaffirmation by Help Yourself. Help Yourself wasn't a band. They were a vibe. Part pub rock, part pastoral folk, part cosmic jam session. They lived somewhere between the Byrds and early Pink Floyd. Reaffirmation, from their 1972 album Beware the Shadow, was a groovy, twangy, softly psychedelic tune that flowed like honey through grass. They didn't break big, but they played with legends like Mann and Brinsley Schwartz and became a cornerstone of Britain's hippie rock movement. Next, we enter the top 3, where things get truly strange and truly great. Number 3, Bad Side of the Moon by Toe Fat. Yup, that's really their name. Toe Fat was led by future Uriah Heep vocalist Ken Hensley and featured Cliff Bennett from the Rebel Rousers. Their cover of Elton John's Bad Side of the Moon turned a brooding ballad into a hard rock sermon, complete with fuzzed-out guitar and powerhouse vocals. Despite having major label support and management from the Beatles team, they vanished after just 2 albums. Toe Fat was weird, loud, and unforgettable, even if no one could take the name seriously. Next, a band whose singer sounded like Geddy Lee and whose drama was almost operatic. Number 2, Julia by Pavlov's Dog. Soaring falsetto, progressive ambition, pure melancholy. Julia introduced Pavlov's Dog to the world, and the world didn't know what to do with them. David Surkamp's voice was shrill, emotional, and unlike anything else in 1972. Backed by mellotron, violin, and a rhythm section that shifted like clockwork, this band was part Genesis, part Queen, part something never heard again. They didn't chart, but they built a cult following that still defends them with passion today. You either love Pavlov's Dog or you just haven't heard them yet. And at number 1, a song so overlooked it became sacred vinyl. Number 1, Let Them Come When They Will by Cressida.
Tell the people, let them come when they will.
If Yes wrote lullabies for ghosts, it would sound like this. Cressida's Let Them Come When They Will closed their second and final album, an under-the-radar prog masterpiece that rewards every listen. With fluid piano lines, symphonic guitar, and haunting vocals, it's more like a short film than a song. The band broke up before the album was released. No tour, no fanfare, just silence. But years later, collectors and connoisseurs found it. 1972 wasn't just about Zeppelin and Bowie. It was filled with bands you never heard but probably should have. From proto-metal howls to flute-laced fantasies, these 15 obscure acts bent the rules, disappeared, and left behind gold dust. So which track are you digging up first? Drop your pick in the comments and tell us what lost treasure you're claiming as your own. And if you love going deeper than radio ever dared, hit like and subscribe so we can keep this record spinning. Next up, 15 rock songs from 1970 we'll never forget. Part 2, where the classics return, but nothing's repeated. Because sometimes the bands that vanish the fastest leave the loudest echoes.